So for our transactions, this is one that I missed last week. I barely missed this one last week. I think it was being released as I was recording, but the Rams did sign cornerback Kareem Orr to a 1-year, $780,000 deal. He bounced between the active roster and practice squad for the Titans over the last 2 seasons, and he did join the Titans in 2019 as a UDFA, undrafted free agent. His stat line, pretty simple, 9 tackles. That's all he's gotten. But like I said, bouncing back and forth between active roster and practice squad, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That tells you something. They're not just, he didn't come up to the active roster and then they're like, oh, this is how he plays? All right, never mind. It just kind of, he was in that spot where it's like he's kind of teetering. So something would happen and he would get bumped up. Then something, then maybe a player would come back from injury, clear waivers, back on the practice squad. That's nothing that's not necessarily a bad thing, but either way, the Rams, some depth at the cornerback position is never really a bad thing. It's hard to complain about depth at that spot for sure. More cornerback news. The Rams draft pick Robert Rochelle signs his rookie deal. He did that on Tuesday. So just yesterday, actually, that he signed. I wrote this down yesterday. Maybe that happened. I don't remember. It was this week. It was this week that Robert Rochelle signed his deal. So he is now locked in, number 31 for the LA Rams at rookie there. And in more cornerback news, because apparently that's a position that the Rams are focused on right now, adding to that spot for sure, the Rams have signed cornerback Diane Gonwaloku Lake to a 1-year deal. I really hope I didn't ruin that. Gonwaloku Lake. I'm pretty sure that's exactly right. Diane. So he did sign a 1-year deal with the Rams. He was on the Rams from April 28th, 2020, but then was cut at September 4th. So he might be one of those guys. Could this be one of those guys that we could have seen last year maybe have an impact, but no preseason, no in-person training camp? He didn't get a chance to showcase his skills. I'm hoping that that's the case because, hey, this would be really cool for this guy to be able to, kind of ruin his shot. I don't want that he didn't ruin his shot, but the world ruined a lot of shots last year with COVID going on and the lack of a preseason, the lack of in-person training camps. So coaches weren't able to see those guys. I talked about that before earlier in this offseason where, preseason's a time for some of those undrafted guys, maybe the lower roster guys, to really make a name for themselves. And so missing that last year, we don't know if some of these guys are just, they could have been amazing, but they never really got a shot. They had all the makings to be a high impact player, but never were able to get onto the field. And so the team kind of has to go with guys that they know a little bit better, that they've got actual tape on. So hey, this is a guy that we'll look for in the preseason for sure, because I want to talk about his story just real fast, because I always, anytime the Rams sign anybody, I kind of look into their story a little bit. I kind of look into who they are, where they came from. And I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole with this guy, with Diane Gonwaloku Lake. And I kind of, just a little bit of a rabbit hole, nothing too crazy. I will drop a link below, because there's actually some really cool parts of his story that the reason that I got kind of sucked in. So he was born in Liberia, which is in Africa. He moved to the U.S. at the age of 5, and the way that he's telling the story is just super cool. He was the part made me laugh. He's mentioning that he's getting off the plane and stuff, and it's the first time he and his sister had seen white people. it's that's gotta be a little jarring. You never really consider that stuff. I've lived here my whole life in Colorado, so everybody moves here, so I've seen everybody, but I'll put it below the one of the videos that I watched. I watched a few on them, but one of the videos I watched is Deep Blue is from BYU and their, I think, production team. But really cool stuff and just really interesting, some stuff that you don't really think about. That he was talking about, that he was in his room and he just kept turning the light switch on and off because it's such a weird concept to him to have that in a place. And moving at 5, obviously that's really young, but he remembered being from Liberia. So the changes, I'm sure that was a pretty big culture shock. So he moved because of the crazy stuff that was going on there. So, I mean, those kind of stories are my favorite kinds of stories. Those guys that, they have just a little bit more weight to their why, I guess. And I'm big into the why. Why are you doing things? Why are you working hard? What makes you get up? Like, when you open your eyes in the morning, what makes your feet hit the floor, kind of thing. And I think for Diane Gomoloku Lake, I think he's got a hell of a story, and I'm trying to pass it along, I guess, because now that he's back as a member of the Rams, I feel like it's a perfect time to share some stories. So, Rams fans, my favorite kind of people, thank you guys so much for getting all the way to the end of this video. Appreciate the heck out of you guys, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. On this side here, what I'm going to need you guys to do, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification stuff too. You know exactly what I'm doing and when. And if you liked this clip, you'll probably like the entire episode. I'll link that one right here. Thank you guys so much. Go Rams!